And we're live. Hello, Lana. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good.
I was trying to chew and bite up this mint. Yeah,
First
put
of
it.
all, do whatever it is you need to do. Nobody's going to say anything. And if they do, screw them. So that's how that works here. But we are live. We normally do the show on Tuesday. We are doing it today on Wednesday, but I think we're normally going to go back to our Tuesday schedule. So, that's where you'll usually find us. But, life gets in the way with Lana and life gets in the way with me. And every once in a while, we're going to have to adjust our schedule. And that's just the way it is. But we've got, it's nuts nowadays because there's like a million things to talk about, and we're probably going to miss so many different things, and there are a lot of things that are dominating the news. But before we start, I'm going to let you decide, are we asking for the subscribers now?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I am Lana Quest. Welcome to the Black and White Show.
Yep.
Before we get started, we'd like you to please like, share, and subscribe this video.
Okay, I'm still on the fence, but
I know it's on the fence. Please hit that notification bell too, so that whenever we come on and we have a schedule change, you will know that we're on because you will get notified. That's why you hit the notification bell. So
you notice I put that in your court because you're just really good at it. And I'm just like, I'm trying to pretend like I don't want to ask for the subscribers, but I'm going to put Monda's court because she knows what to do. So
I'm just better at begging.
Yes. Well, whatever works, it doesn't matter. But, I'm sure there's not a huge shock of what we'll be talking about tonight. But before we do start, what I want to talk about first is because I said this on my show before, and I even failed myself, and I'm failing our president because, there's a lot of criticism that Democrats do not get the word out about what's actually happening in this country, under the presidency of Joe Biden. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Right.
And, it sounds so as Democrats, we can all go around and say Inflation Reduction Act, inflation is down. Look what Joe Biden, and people will look at us and just go, well, you're Democrats. You're just going to say whatever. And you're just going to take. Well, we're not the only ones saying it. I mean, Morgan Stanley, who I promise you, most of the people who are at the top of Morgan Stanley are probably not big Democrats. That's just a guess.
Right.
They have given credit to Bidenomics, specifically the word Bidenomics, as to why our economy has gotten better and why inflation has gone down. Bank of America is giving credit to this administration for what has happened over the last year. A year ago, Lana knows this, we were at over 9%, a little over a year ago in inflation. We are down almost at the core number that all economic experts say we should be at.
I mean, it's incredible.
It really is.
It really is incredible.
And, he's doing it not just so normally when there's high inflation and you bring down inflation, there's almost always a recession, and a recession includes a lot of job losses. There's prices go higher. There's a lot of not prices go higher. That's obviously bringing down the inflation, but job losses is a big thing. He was able to not only maintain the jobs, he was able to add a ton of them.
Right.
And there are some people who are going to ignore it no matter what. It doesn't matter. They are just going to ignore the basic in-your-face numbers that show everything that this president so far has done has been the right thing.
But is it really in your face? Like, I'm not.
That's a good question.
Because I really think even like, so, when I commute in the mornings and it's always politics that I talk about, and some of them aren't politically active, and they'll complain about the prices of things and stuff like that. I don't know if it's in your face if you're not paying attention. How do you get that info?
Well, let me ask you this. Do they know about the Trump indictments? Yes, of course, because this stuff is boring for Americans. And the problem is now is that even back in the old days when things were kind of boring, this probably would be a bigger news story. But when you have something that's boring, that it's not salacious and it's not, a Jerry Springer like news cycle in the political arena, you're not going to pay attention to it as much. Now, you're right too. Do the Democrats do a great job of getting this message out? I mean, it's hard for me to say, honestly, because I follow this all the time.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, I don't, people blame it on the Democrats, and I don't think it's a Democratic problem. It's almost a media problem. The media is not getting it out enough.
And I'm glad you say that, because a lot of people don't really recognize that. They recognize more it's easy to blame whatever's in charge or whoever's in charge. So it's easy to make that distinction and say, you know what, it's Joe Biden, he's the president, and my eggs cost $1 more than they used to. So, he's got to go. And, I'm going to bring back the guy who, well, we have a ton of things to talk about, with him. But yeah, I mean, it's a concern. I do think, though, as time goes on, hopefully it gets out more. You're right. I mean, even in a blue state that you said you're up in, people are not really talking about it.
And they'll still complain about like the price of things, because people generally are just unhappy, right? And they don't even look at like the facts. They don't look at, like, I think I told you last week, I was in the store and I'm like, oh my God, the snacks are on sale. They haven't been on sale in so long. Oh my God, the cereal, there are deals again that there weren't at one point. I didn't see the orange tags on the food. Like, now I see the orange stickies because things are on sale now.
Yeah. And the other thing too that drives me nuts, I mean, it's easy, again, like I said, to blame the Democrats. It's easy to blame Joe Biden. I don't understand as Americans, because something is pretty clear, and it's not fully responsible, but part of it is these corporations that sell the foods, the eggs, the gas, all this stuff. During that inflationary time, they were jacking up prices when they did not necessarily need to do it. I mean, they were making they were making more money in 2022, 2021, and 2020 during the pandemic than they'd ever made ever.
During our lockdown.
Correct. And, the fact that they made that much money during lockdown, during time when inflation was high, it's that price gouging. It's no different here in Florida. We see it.
It's a no-brainer, right?
We see it all the time here in Florida. When a hurricane comes through, the gas prices are going to go through the roof. And it's just that price gouging that they took advantage of, and not enough Americans are not even just not know about it. They're not angry about it. That's what they should be angry about. Whether you're a MAGA, whether you're me, whether you're you, it doesn't matter. We should all be angry about the fact. But you know what?
Blame the corporations. They always blame the government because they don't understand government. And that's one of the biggest problems there is. Like, people don't understand the function of the government.
And, there has been talk I've heard lately about, in order, and I know it's not going to happen, but it's really coming from the Republican side. And it's this angry mentality that young people are voting. And they're saying, well, you should be able to take a civics test first before you vote, before you're a certain age. My guess is that a lot of the people who are saying that probably couldn't pass the same civics test that they're talking about. Yeah. And again, that's not just Republicans. That's a lot of Americans, because they just don't follow this. It's not, and you and I have talked about this before, I think. If you don't follow it, it's okay. We know you've got a life. We know there's a ton of things. And if you just go through life and none of it bothers you, that's fine. But if you don't follow it, but you're going to be mad about it, I think that's what irritates me. It irritates me when you're going to get mad about something that you really don't know a whole bunch about.
Right. And it's a simple Google. If you're like, oh my God, I can't believe gas prices are up. Is it Biden's fault? I mean, you can just Google to see, like, why do gas prices rise?
Yeah. I think the problem, though, Lana, is they continue to Google until they find the answer that they want, until they find the answer that is, and they'll find it on Crazy Patriot, eagle.com
Yeah.
and just share that
It
story.
won't be a
So,
credible source. Like,
yeah.
'cause I don't even know what credible. I know we have to move on,
No,
but
we could do whatever we want. How about that?
so yay! I read somewhere that a New Jersey school district is actually teaching the kids how to um, find correct sources or factual
Mhm.
sources because of the misinformation that's out there. So it's actually teaching them because they understand that these new age children, they're just internet. They're getting their news from TikTok,
Yeah.
from Facebook. So they're actually teaching them how to use secondary sources to back up this information. Like, okay, you have something, you're reading it. How do we know that that's a fact? Let's find some secondary sources to find. So it should be mandatory in all of the schools to teach these kids like how to, but adults don't even know how to, like, it's just
Yeah, you know what's sad about what you were just saying, the thought that went through my head? The thought that went through my head is that eventually you're going to have somebody go to a school board and say
yeah,
factcheck.org is owned
yeah,
by Bill Gates and
yeah,
they're just trying to indoctrinate my
yeah,
children. And that's what there's no such thing as facts when you don't want them. If you don't want the facts, then you could just say fuck it to facts and say, I'm just going to make up my own facts. I don't even care if you show me the proof. I don't even care if I can't find it myself. I feel better about just believing this.
yeah. Oh my God.
And that's sad.
Yeah, and it's the states are going to be separate. I'm just going to be looking at you, Brian, over in Florida, like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
it's just like,
Well, I would imagine our school board meetings are probably a lot different than the school board meetings up in Massachusetts.
yeah.
But it's going on all over the country. But we're talking about being sad. Let's get to some good news. And, I know a lot of people are saying this is not good news for the country. It's sad. Fuck that. I think it's hilarious. And I love it. I love every second of this, every single second of this. And what I love even more is that at some time, this is going to smack MAGA right in the face because they still don't know this is coming. They don't know what's about to happen.
Right.
And what just happened, Miss Lana, I don't know if the news got up there to you in Massachusetts, but here in Georgia, because it's right above us, so we might have heard this before you did, a Georgia grand jury indicted the 24 presidential candidate, Donald Trump, and several allies Monday evening on charges of conspiracy to try to steal Georgia's electoral votes from President Joe Biden and the 2020 election. Some of the basics here we've got is Trump and others named in the 98-page indictment have until noon on Friday, August 24th, to voluntarily surrender. Now, there's two significant things about that. Do you know what they are?
Two significant things about
that date.
Friday?
Yep, that is correct.
What is significant?
Not the answer I was looking for, but it is correct.
No. no. I'm trying to figure out what is the significance about Friday.
Well,
it's this Friday, right? Or is it next Friday? Can't remember.
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say too significant. There's one significant thing about it, and the other one, it's on the 25th when they turn themselves in. It's actually where they have to turn themselves in.
Oh, that's going to jail.
They have to go to the Fulton County Jail, which I've read many people say it is not one of the finest jails. Not that you're
right.
Yeah, you're not looking for the Marriott of jails, but it definitely is the Motel 6 from what I understand. And it's not, it's not, and they are going to, they're going to basically perp walk him. They are going to mugshot him. Height, weight, all that is going to come out, and that will drive him absolutely insane, which will be hilarious.
Yeah, we're going to see a mugshot.
Yep.
Because the sheriff already said, "Yep, we're going to treat him the same."
That's how we do everybody.
Yeah.
It's so, but the significance about that date is it happens to fall the day after the first Republican debates on Thursday night.
That's great.
So no word yet as to whether or not Donald Trump will show up. My guess, I'm starting to think more and more that he may, because he's going to use that as a platform to call out the Proud Boys and all that again, maybe that night, and get them all riled up and ready for what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. Um,
And it's interesting. Okay, so since we're talking about significant dates,
yeah.
Trump is now saying that on Monday, which
Yes,
yeah. So was that one of your things? I don't know.
it is. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But I'm glad you brought it up.
is that I wonder if is he going to turn himself in that day? Like, what is so good about Monday? Why not today? Why not? I mean, I know he wants to leave some suspense, but
Well, he's going to make his Monday announcement, which is before the turn-in date.
right,
So you could turn yourself in at any
anytime,
time.
right,
The question is, and I can't imagine that they will, but the question is, if he turns himself in, are they going to keep him there? And I can't imagine that they will. I think they're probably going to follow the same suit as everybody else. But Fonnie Willis doesn't seem like she's following everything that's going on with him in the past. And he already has a history of basically threatening and using innuendo to call out witnesses and to call out the judge. And
but
it's
they'll bond him out. He'll get bond because they would have to work out the logistics of the Secret Service. Like all of that would have to be worked out unless they put him home. Like he's gonna get bond out. So he can stick his foot in his mouth again. Like that's all they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Man, he called the DC judge because the DC judge is just gonna hurry up his trial.
Yeah. Well, they also, of course, he's going to use the delay tactics. He's trying to get Fonnie Willis removed from the case. I'm sure he's probably going to try to get jurisdiction change. He's going to try to turn it from, and this actually is very important. He's going to try to turn this from a state case to a federal case. And the reason why that's important, because in Georgia, their laws, they're not messing around. In Georgia, first of all, the first and most important thing is if he's found guilty in the Georgia case, he cannot pardon himself on a state case. He could do it on a federal case. He cannot do it on a state case. So even if he wins the election, he still will wind up being in jail and he cannot pardon himself getting it. First of all, I want you to just go back and think about what I just said.
I know. I mean, there's a lot wrong with that. Starting with a president can pardon themselves. That is the stupidest thing ever. But I guess they didn't, write their laws thinking that this would ever happen because that doesn't even that's self-serving. Like, what the fuck is that? You get to pardon yourself? Like, what?
Well, I mean, other than maybe the security guard and the what do they call him? The warden. Who can actually go to jail and still keep their job?
Right.
Why I don't understand why the president of first of all, he wouldn't even be president. He'd be going to jail. And once you're in jail, you should not be able to run for president of the United States. Now, of course, my guess is the founding fathers didn't think about it.
Supposed to be. Like, that's why I don't understand, because I think you cannot run you can't be president as a felon. So I don't understand why they're saying that, because you can't be president as a felon. Like, a felon can't even vote. Like, what are we talking about right now? How can he be president and he's a felon?
Well, obviously, I mean, they have thrown out this possibility. And again, who knows if this is the media just being the media? You would think that that's not possible. But
he's insulated if he's president and then he becomes a felon. So, like, but we can't put the label on him because he's the president, so we have to wait until he's not the president. Like, none of it is. So you have a felon in the White House with our national security? Like, what is this? This is so stupid on its face. Like, what? And it's so crazy that nothing can be done. Like, we just let the process go. Like, what? But this process is stupid.
Lana, I'm going to say something that'll shock you. This is all so fucking dumb. You're right. It makes no sense. It is just, we are living in, you grow up going to school and you educate yourself and you learn all this stuff. I said this to somebody the other day. You could take the best Hollywood writer and he would never be able to come up with a script as kooky and crazy as this.
Yeah.
Even he would look at it and go, this is dumb. This is stupid. I'm not turning this in. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. But let's go over a couple more of the basics here. Others indicted include Rudy Giuliani, Oh boy, what a fall from grace when you're talking about old Rudy. He was actually an American hero. We were suckered into thinking he was a hero.
No, you may have been suckered into thinking Rudy was a hero, but Rudy was in New York being
I was
a whole racist and like what was
yeah.
it? Stop and frisk and taking homes away from black people who did not pay their water bill. Like it was just
Yeah.
Rudy was always a racist bigot.
And you know, that's kind of, you know, the thing that sometimes even the ones, and well, back then, of course, you didn't have as much information as you did, you know, you do now, and things where you can educate yourself. And of course, heck, I was way younger at the time. So all you're thinking is they put this guy on TV, they prop him up. Yeah.
Right. And you're not in New York, so you don't know anyone. You're not dealing with what he's actually doing in New York.
Correct. And, you know, at the after 9/11, I think you and I have talked about this before. After 9/11, I don't know if you even had it in you to hate anybody at that point. It was just like, we are all together in this. And I can't remember how long it lasted, whether it was a few weeks or a couple months, you know, and, you know, but it not only went away, but it is now at a point where we are literally talking to mostly Trump supporters about a civil war. And I know you like clips, so I'm going to show you a clip here in a minute about that. But let's go over a couple more of the things. Willis said that she would seek to have the trial date within the next 6 months. Of course, that's not up to her. That's up to the judge. I don't know if she has any influence behind that, but, you know, the sooner the better. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the reason why you can go to the judge or you can suggest a sooner court date is because you are afraid of the defendant having too much influence in the outcome of the case. Right. And if that is the case, you do have a strong case. I've said case 3 times in the last 30 seconds. You have a strong case to move that trial up.
Ask you something, because I was talking to my friend DA. He may be watching. If you are DA, and we were talking about, like, he was saying maybe they should kind of slow it down, because if, say, the trial happens ahead of time and he is arrested, so now he cannot be the Republican nominee. He can, you know, he's done. So here comes DeSantis. So don't we want Trump before we want to have DeSantis?
Well, you know what? It's funny you say that, because we're going to bring that up here in a minute. So if with your permission, I'm going to move on to a couple things, and then we'll get into that. So much of the indictment focused on a behind-the-scenes pressure campaign directed at state election workers. Included in the indictment is the overt harassment that resulted from Trump's falsely accusing poor Ruby Freeman. Ruby is the kind of person now that if you saw her on the street, you just want to give her a hug, because it was just so sad watching her. And it was her daughter too, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Just, I mean, nobody deserves to go through that. That is just such garbage, man. And it's heartbreaking. It makes you very, very angry. You know, and that's the kind of stuff that you're like, yeah, of course we don't want a civil war. We don't want that stuff, but we're like, we don't like these people. They're just nasty.
They really are.
Yeah.
Did you hear the breaking news? You keep trying to go on.
Listen, this is your show as much as it is mine. So so here's what happens. Just a little, I give Lana a couple things of what we're going to talk about before the show. Some things just happen to pop up. So if you have anything, I told you, this show's just as much as yours as it is mine, and you throw in anything that you want to, because more than likely we're going to talk about it anyway.
But you probably have it written down. But speaking of deplorables,
can I guess what you're going to talk about?
Go ahead.
All right, this is a game. This is the first time I get to play.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Roger Stone.
Yeah.
I got the I got something even better for you. I got the clip.
Oh, no. Wait,
did you see the clip?
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah. Did you see it?
Yes. That with the big Trump thing in the background, like.
Yeah. So that is something. See, this is what I talked about earlier. There's so much to talk about that it's just like, and I'm the kind of idiot. I know maybe you won't. I'll sit here at 4:00 in the morning talking like an idiot about all this until I get it all
No,
out. But
I mean it is a lot. I mean, I'm glad we're doing it now because I was like, I don't want to do this tomorrow.
yeah, I know. So, and that's the only thing I don't want to steal your time. But it's okay because I think the more we talk about this, because you see how conservative media works, it's repetitive, it's over and over and over again. And I'm not saying people are in droves watching our show, but I'm just saying the more people who continue to say it, whether it's one person hearing it or a million people hearing it, saying it over and over again is good. But in this whole thing too, first of all, we're talking about RICO charges. And when you hear RICO charges, what do you think?
Mob.
Yeah. You think Tony, or not even Tony, let's talk about the real mob. I mean, this is what it's organized crime.
Or the blacks.
Or the blacks. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to say it like, yeah, I know.
I can say it.
Yeah, I know. It's insanity that, that we're talking about a United States president that is on the same level as organized criminals. I mean, this is what we're talking about here. So, so Atlanta area prosecutors investigating efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia are in possession of text messages and emails directly connecting members of Donald Trump's legal team to the early January 2021 voting system breach in Coffee County. And sources told that to CNN. They broke that news that basically what they're saying is that what Republicans accuse Democrats of doing is exactly what Republicans did. And there's receipts, there's proof, and I don't know.
I know you're waiting for me to talk, and I'm just like,
yeah.
It comes out and then it just stops. Like, you're absolutely right. If Republicans are out there saying that Democrats are doing it, check Republicans, because like you said, it's absolutely what they're doing. And then there's proof. Like,
correct.
What the heck? It's proof. Yes, you are. RICO, yes, because guess what? RICO is. It's not like a mob charge. It's not that. It's committing a crime with an enterprise, right? An organization or something like that. Trump campaign is an enterprise. What were they doing? They only need 2 crimes for RICO?
Yeah.
Yep. Like, how many? 98? I don't know.
Fonnie's a fan of RICO too. She said it herself. So
that easy. Like, you committed these. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
There's so much proof.
Yeah. I mean, what's that?
I think there was something else that was breaking news. They were talking about Twitter and Elon and how Jack Smith had that subpoena.
Yeah.
Twitter had to pay a fine.
$350,000 because he was trying to hide this information that a federal prosecutor was trying to get from his company. And this is the thing that drives me nuts when we talk about people like Elon Musk, is like, they'll say he's not a Republican. He's as far right. He's a far right nutbag, and he took a $350,000 hit to try to protect Donald Trump, and he still had to give up the information.
Exactly. So what? He makes electric cars. That doesn't make him liberal or progressive.
And that's the funny thing. That's why it always drives me nuts when they say that. It's like, first of all, Elon Musk did not invent Tesla. He found his way somehow into the company and wound up making money from it. But
300,000 just because he was. The judge said, but the judge called his attorneys out and said, "Hey, you don't want to give us this information. Why? Because the president of your company wants to buddy up with." It's not like he said that. Like,
yeah, it's insane. One thing, Lana, I do want to talk about. So, quickly or however long it takes, I don't care.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden. Okay. So everybody has this idea that there's two different justice systems, one for Hunter Biden, one for Donald Trump. And when they say that, they're saying it as if Hunter Biden is getting fair treatment and that Donald Trump is not. Donald Trump currently has 91 counts of basically crime.
Right. Out here criming.
And Hunter Biden has some things that apparently they worked a deal out on, and then they said somehow it came back that was not good enough. So now it's being investigated for the umpteenth time. But again, I think I'm not speaking for you, but I'm pretty sure you're on the same page. If Hunter Biden goes to jail, he goes to jail. That's it. And if there's something that he did wrong that warrants him going to jail, I don't. Do you know of any Democrats up there that would be angry, that would start wearing T-shirts, flags, hats, and going to the courthouse? And
exactly. And here's the thing: Democrats won't say anything because they're going to let the justice system work its way out. But we also do know, but we just don't really say this much, that Hunter Biden is being treated the way he's being treated because he's Hunter Biden.
Correct.
Like nobody, these charges, like taxes and this gun thing when he had weed. Like, are we joking right now? Like, he's a private citizen. He's not in the White House. He's not trying to be in the White House. He's not campaigning. Like, are we doing that with every citizen? Congress is just going into homes and like, oh, you didn't pay your taxes, Lana Quest. I'm gonna invest. Like, nobody does that.
Yeah.
Not a thing.
I think, again, where it's so transparent, if somebody would just kind of sit back and go, let me really investigate the differences between the two. Less than a year ago, over 30 Republican congressmen and women wrote a letter saying that they demanded this gentleman named David Weiss investigate the crime. Okay. So now fast forward to a few days ago, Merrick Garland comes out and says, we are going to assign David Weiss to this case and have him investigate it. Republicans lost their shit and said, that's not fair. Now, that is something I can't explain. You have James Comer on TV saying we were this close to getting them, and now all of a sudden our investigation is, and they're this close to getting them with witnesses that they couldn't find, with a witness that was behind closed doors that said this is their star witness. And you notice all the other witnesses were in front of Congress. This one was behind closed doors, and their star witness said, I had no dealings with Joe Biden. Hunter Biden, I can imagine, because I know people like this, that you're a drug addict, you're an alcoholic, whatever you are, and you're always trying to show off. So you're going to show off that my dad is Joe Biden. And that's what it sounded like to me. And the reason why it sounds like to me is because there's no proof otherwise.
Right. But they said it. They actually said it out of their mouths that we just want to mess with his poll numbers. We want to fuck up his poll numbers. We don't care. We don't care about any of this.
Well, that's exactly what it is. In fact, back when Hillary was running, did you see her on Rachel the other night?
I did not watch it. I know she was on, right before the, I didn't.
Yeah, she was just, I was watching it with a sadness still every time I listened to that woman talk, that we missed out on a great one. But it was the same strategy with Hillary, is they didn't care really about Benghazi. They didn't really care about the emails. It was just destroying her reputation. Right. And we talked about this earlier. When you're repetitive with it over and over and over again, at some point it starts to work.
Right. I don't think it's going to work with Joe Biden, only because it's just so weird. I'm like, they're only talking to their base. Like they're not going to win any more people for their base, and they're not going to lose any. They're just there.
Yeah.
And like we talked about this, I think you said it. Like whoever didn't vote for Trump last election that he ran in, they're not going to vote for him now. Like, why
Yeah.
would they vote for him now with 91 counts? Like,
That,
they're not
well,
going to
you
do
know,
it.
I'm glad you brought that up because that segues me into another thing that I did want to talk about. And there are a couple polls that I want to talk about that just came out. Now, you and I both have agreed that polls aren't, they're an indicator, but they're not, something that we should celebrate with. When I hear stuff like 80% of Americans, I'm like, no, it's 80% of like 1,300 people. It's not
Yeah, right.
80% of
Yeah,
Americans. You
right,
know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
So, but there is an interesting poll came out. I think it's worth noting. There is a poll that, well, let's start. So Donald Trump has some good news and some bad news. Let's start with the good news for Donald Trump, which probably wouldn't think you'd hear on this show. The poll, there's a new poll that found, it's an Associated Press poll, so a legitimate poll. They found that 63% of Republican voters now say they want former president to run again, which that's obviously happening. 7 in 10 Republicans now have a favorable opinion of Trump, an uptick from 60% who said that 2 months ago. So his poll numbers are going up with so-called Republicans. But in a crucial warning sign for the former president and his supporters, Trump faces glaring vulnerabilities heading into the general election. And that's what I want to talk to you about Ron DeSantis too in a minute. The poll found in the general election, 74% of Republicans say they would support Trump in 2024. However, 53% of Americans said they definitely would not support him, and another 11% said probably would not support him. So that's 64% of
Right.
American, or of 1,300 people, that said it's actually 1,165 people to be exact, that they definitely would not support Donald Trump. And this, I think, was before, that's even before they said whether or not he would, go to jail.
Right.
So you would imagine that number could possibly go up a little bit if he does.
Right. Right.
Yeah. There's also more on that about Joe Biden. So I think it's fair to talk about Joe Biden's numbers on here.
Yeah.
The poll asked the same questions for Joe Biden and found a slightly better result for the incumbent, but not by much. 54% of respondents said they would not support Biden, with 43% saying they definitely not support him in a general election, which another 11% saying they probably wouldn't, which brings that total to 54% compared to Trump's 64%. Not a great number, but there's also, Biden does command greater party loyalty, with 82% of Democrats saying they would support him in a general election. And I do believe that number goes higher when we get the RFK Juniors out of the way and the Marianne Williamsons and, and people like that. So
And then who are they polling? Because again, who are they polling? Because this happened before the last election. Biden was polling really low too. Like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't listen to them.
And we talked about it earlier. Every time for a president, it is very important that you are looked upon as somebody that is good for the economy. And going into the last election, I believe Joe Biden was slightly ahead of Donald Trump when it came to the economy. But there's a couple of factors that played in then, and there's certainly a couple of factors that play in now. Back then, obviously, there was one of the worst leadership of a crisis maybe in the history of man.
Right.
Donald Trump with COVID.
Right.
Now you're going to have a lot of voters who may not even give a shit who that presidential candidate is. They want to know which one is going to protect my abortion rights and which one is not. And that is a major, you or I could be on the ballot, although I think either one of us probably could win presidency. That is a big factor in this upcoming election. And it's been pretty clear, over all the special we left last week talking about Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is going to fuel, oh my God, that issue. What's the other issue? It's abortion. It's what the heck's the other one?
I'm sure we'll come up with it, but I think the main one, I think, because that is, the Republicans are not even backing down from it. They are
No.
making it clear. I
Yeah.
think I saw a clip of Laura Ingraham on Fox News the other night say this is the best victory that Republicans have had in a long time, and they probably should be celebrating this more. Where on the converse is, do you know Ann Coulter?
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
She's
You,
she's still dating JJ.
I don't want to think about Ann Coulter dating anybody, but I will say she's come around a little bit because she has basically said the second that Republicans realize that abortion is a huge issue, there's not going to be any Republicans left. And she's right. And it's just, I don't understand the strategy. It seems pretty clear that we're heading towards, you know, and it's not going to be an easy election, but I just have this feeling every day, and it's not me putting my guard down, that the MAGA movement is melting more and more every day.
I agree that, I mean, I think Democrats at this point are not just Democrats, because that abortion issue is fueling women.
Yeah.
It's not just Democratic women that have abortions, or people who don't even do politics, or it's Republicans who have had to have a DNC. Like, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
So you're at, and those people aren't polling, but they will sleep at the polls to be in line. Like, no
Yeah.
one's leaving those lines. Like, those lines are going to be wrapped, and no one's going to leave,
And
because
I'll tell you why it's encouraging is because, first of all, you're talking about a state like Ohio that has voted for Trump. And in certain counties, the measure that they tried to pass last week, first of all, I think they tried to confuse people as
yeah,
to whether or not you should vote for yes
the
or no.
amendment, yeah,
But the women there, the men there who were for the rights of women and their right to choose made sure they knew exactly
yes,
what to vote for.
yes. Yeah, that's amazing, because
Yeah.
that's how they try to get us when they put these things on there and make the wording so confusing. And it's just like, vote no. Like, just vote no.
And if they're doing that in a red state, it's encouraging to think that there
Yes.
are purple states and
Yeah.
obviously blue states that
Yeah.
people are going to be very energized on that issue alone. Because if they lose this one, it's not going to be pretty. I really don't think it's going to be a really, really bad thing for this country. And unless, of course, the Democrats win the House and the Senate, and it leaves Trump or whoever it is the president, it leaves them basically, um,
Yeah. Hopefully that we can get back the house. I think that we can. I think some errors were made in New York.
yeah, yep.
But we can, I think we can do it. And
I,
like you said,
I think so too.
it's going to be even bigger this time than it was the last time, because everyone's getting caught up in it. The military, like, they're isolating the military at this point.
Yep.
Like, they don't even want their votes anymore. They have isolated military. They have isolated the women. They have isolated the men that love the woman, because guess what? If a
Yeah.
woman can't have an abortion, that means that the man's sitting around going, I'm forced to pay child support?
Yeah.
And neither one of us
Right.
want to do this?
Right. Right.
We're not together.
Yeah.
This is a one night stand, and I have to pay child support.
You're exactly right. And, the other thing too is Republicans are always complaining about being able to recruit to the military, and they're making it very difficult. What woman is going to go into the military now and she's going to say, well, what happens if I mistakenly get pregnant, or if I get raped, or if I get, I'm forced to have this baby and I'm not allowed to leave the base. I'm not allowed to fly somewhere to get an abortion. To me, that's more dangerous, your little stance here on abortion,
Right.
than keeping people out of the military. And then, of course, we talked about Tommy Tuberville and his one vote that would change, being able to put people in our military in places where they should be, where they're not right now. Yeah, I know, Lana.
It's like Republicans it's just trash. That party has just, since McCain, it's just trash.
Do you want to talk about Ron DeSantis now?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if you really want to,
I,
but
I mean, it's always
actually, it's
good, but
entertaining right now. It's
yeah,
talking about Ron DeSantis is very entertaining because
is
this
it?
guy might have slapped together the worst presidential campaign, maybe in the history of
Yeah.
presidential
It
campaigns.
started off bad though. Remember his Twitter announcement?
Oh, so embarrassing. First of all, why you're announcing your presidential run on Twitter. Now, I live in Florida. I see a lot of the people who love Ron DeSantis. My guess is that they'd had no idea what the hell Twitter was.
But
So,
you know what's funny about it too? He was literally Elon's second pick because Elon
right.
obviously wanted Trump because he took that $300,000 hit for Trump, but Trump was like, ah.
It's unbelievable. Right. That's exactly right. It's so corny. But he's an independent. He's,
Mhm.
because he's part of Tesla. So
Yeah,
now we're supposed to accept just because you are a advocate of the environment that you're a liberal. I'm not that stupid. I don't think it works that way.
right.
But anyway, there is I don't know if it's shocking poll,
Hmm.
but former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has surpassed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in the critical early primary state of New Hampshire. This is according to an Emerson College survey. Again, another credible survey. I'd
Mhm.
rather call it survey than poll, to be honest with
Yeah, I
you,
like
because
that
that's
too.
Christie leapfrogged DeSantis for second place in the Granite State, garnering 9% support. DeSantis' support, on the other hand, fell to 8% from 17% in March. Christie's 1 point lead over DeSantis falls within the polls plus or minus 3.4 margin of error. So that's encouraging for a couple of reasons. One, just watching Ron DeSantis go backwards, especially living here in Florida, it's
Yeah.
so joyful. It's just so, I love watching him just try to talk to people. I love watching him so uncomfortable. I love watching the news and Nicole Wallace laughing in his face on MSNBC. I love it. And I
She's
don't care. I don't care what anybody says. I
great.
love it.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. He is so, and he's running around putting boogies on people. Like
Yeah.
every video I see on Twitter, it's like it's him and his hand somewhere in his nose, and then him touching someone. I'm like, what is this?
Were you asking the same question? Did you see the video of him and his wife? They were going to have that moment and they were going to talk about what makes Ron DeSantis such a great husband. Did you watch that clip?
Do you
Damn it. I
have
wish I
it?
had. No,
Yeah.
I'll tell you about it though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was, the one time they were just going to sit down on the stump there, like having, they're sitting next to each other. And Casey DeSantis is just looking at Ron saying what a wonderful husband he is. And the reason why he's such a wonderful husband is because, and this is obviously nothing to make fun of. I felt, you feel terrible for anybody that goes through any kind of breast cancer or cancer like that. But she went through cancer. And, just to be clear, nobody's making fun of that. But she was looking at him, and basically the reason why he was such a great husband is because when she couldn't, he would go pick her kids up from school. Now, I don't know whether you have cancer or not. If you're the dad and you got to go pick up your kids from school, it seems to me like that's just part of being a dad.
It's normal. Like, oh my God, thanks, hun, for getting my kids.
Yeah. It was just so bizarre. And he was so uncomfortable while she was saying all this. Finally, the reporter had to say, how do you feel with her spilling her guts out like this? And he was like, finally, he had to kind of change modes, like this robot, like, she's my best friend. And it was just like, oh man, this is
People like
bad.
each other. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah.
My kids.
Yeah. She said, my kids. It's
Oh,
I
he blocked some type of funding in Florida too to some cancer hospital, some hospital that does cancer research. That they were looking for a road. Did you hear that?
I didn't know.
Yeah, some cancer hospital, something. There was a road that was approved by the former somebody on some board, and Ron DeSantis won't release the money to get the road going to the. I have to look it up and
Yeah,
see.
we'll look that up so we can get some more detail on it. But I
Yeah,
also see
I
that he's
thought it
kind
was
of backing.
weird.
Now he's basically saying, "I don't want to fight with Disney," and it's like
All
Disney's
right.
like, "Fuck you! It's too late, you
Yeah,
douchebag."
you're
Yeah,
already in court. What do you mean
yeah,
you're not fighting with Disney? Because that's a losing one too, dude.
yeah, right. Well, I was saying, that poll is another good indicator, and the reason why I think it's sorry, I got to itch my back. Sorry about that. The indicator is that maybe somebody like Chris Christie, even though you and I we talked about him, we don't love Chris Christie. We're not jumping on the Chris Christie bandwagon.
No.
But if it took 4 years, but if now you have the balls to come out and call him out for everything that he's done wrong, looks like maybe a little bit of that is working. At least in New Hampshire, it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying earlier is that the water's been thrown on the wicked witch and she's melting a little bit. She's not
Right.
she's not melting as quickly as she did in the movie, but she's
Right.
melting
Right.
and she's screaming it out and the flying monkeys are looking around going, what the hell's going on? And who knows what the flying monkeys are going to do when they finally melt, but I don't know. I think that's a good indicator too. What do you think?
I agree. It's crit. I mean, that was a good indicator. You had Kemp, who
Yes,
I abhor.
me too.
He's a voter suppressor. But he did come out and say Georgia has fair elections.
Yeah, I want to read his quote because I actually did highlight that. This is what he tweeted after Donald Trump went nuts and said, he started talking shit about Georgia. The governor, he's a far right guy. I mean, he's not
Yeah.
crazy like Donald Trump, but he's a far right governor. The 2020 election in Georgia was not stolen. For nearly 3 years now, anyone with evidence or fraud has failed to come forward under oath and prove anything in a court of law. Our elections in Georgia are secure, accessible, and fair, and will continue to be as long as I am governor. The future of our country is at stake in 2024, and that must be our focus. So, good on him. I do kind of still feel weird about praising somebody for doing the right thing, but in this climate, you kind of have to. And if you have the guts enough to do that, good on you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm praising him. I'm just going to say thanks for saying the truth.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't get praise for saying the truth. It's the goddamn truth. Because on the flip side, we know that Kemp suppresses votes, and that's kind of how
Yeah.
the whole state. Like
Yeah, and see that's the other thing too. The Abrams, the Hillary Clintons,
yeah.
what Donald Trump is saying. First of all, do we even need to go into it's not even close to the same thing? I mean, is that something that we really got to have to?
Oh, right. The Hillary and Trump, you're saying?
Hillary and Trump and Stacey Abrams, when they try to throw her coming out and saying, hey, we think there was something a little bit off about this election. First of all, she wasn't in office. She didn't get people riled up to go attack anybody. She didn't do, first of all,
Right.
even in the indictment of the January 6th indictment, Jack Smith specifically says, in this country, you are allowed to go out and say whatever the fuck you want. It said that specifically, by the way, in the indictment. It says you can say whatever the fuck you want. That's what it said in the indictment. You should read it. It's a lot of fun.
I have both of them.
Yeah. You could say whatever you want. You could lie about it even. You have the right to do that. But what you did beyond that is what we're charging you for. We're not charging you for because you said the election was stolen. And if your defense is, it sounds like the defense from the Fox News at Law,
Mhm.
if you watch every one of the attorneys on there, they're all saying he's basically their defense is he's so fucking stupid that you really thought, he thought that the election wasn't stolen. He's really that dumb is basically what they're trying to tell us. Like, that's your defense.
That's so crazy. The courts told you, like, wasn't it 60 cases he had thrown out or something like that? Like, the courts told you that there's no fraud. There was no fraud.
Like you said, over 60 courts. That's correct. And some Trump appointees had said the same thing. Right. So,
and he said it. They said out of his mouth too. At one point, he said, "I can't believe I'm getting beat by this guy," or something like that.
Yeah, correct. Yep, yeah, absolutely. So I did not have this on the list, but you brought it up, and I do have the clip right before we went on air. A Trump associate, somebody that's been in the Trump circle for a very long time, Roger Stone, who is a very strange fella. He definitely has one of those looks that you look at him and go, even if you have nothing on him, that he should be in jail because he did something wrong. He definitely did something wrong.
Yeah, he looked slimy.
Yeah, he just does. Well, before we went on air, it turns out that there is a video of Roger Stone basically laying out the plan on how to steal the election. Lana, would you like to see that clip?
I would love to.
I can't believe I've got all these clips and this is the first one we're going to. All right, here we go.
State officials in all 50 states must ultimately certify the results of the voting in their state. The final decision as to who.
Look at that poor bastard typing. He's going to be pressed on charges too for something that he had no idea why he was going to be.
Yeah.
The state legislatures authorize be sent to the Electoral College is a decision made solely by the legislature.
I'm not sure that he's stupid, but he has this thing about him where I think he thinks he's smarter than he is.
Yes.
He's got that whole look like, I am so brilliant while I'm saying all this.
Like, who is he?
He's a strange cat.
Like,
very strange cat.
What is he? A businessman? Like, what is he?
That's a good. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea what he does.
Roger Stone, other than the man that has a tattoo of Richard Nixon.
He's a professional grifter, is what he is. I think he was. Was he in the Nixon administration?
Oh,
I think he might have been. I might be wrong on that, but I think he was, and he's been in politics for a long time. But yeah, he's still a strange cat.
Any legislative body may decide on the basis of overwhelming evidence of fraud to send electors to the Electoral College who accurately reflect the president's legitimate victory in their state, which was illegally denied him through fraud. We must be prepared to lobby our Republican legislatures by personal contact and by demonstrating the overwhelming will of the people in their state, in each state, that this may need to happen.
Okay, you get the point. It's,
I just looked up his Wikipedia. We're not going to talk about it. I just want to read the first few lines. It says he's an American conservative political consultant, lobbyist, and convicted criminal.
I don't know. That's something in you certainly don't want to have in your Wikipedia or anywhere else. But he's hilarious. A professional moron. He's an idiot. And, again,
that's funny.
We're living in weird times, Miss Lana.
I can't.
Nah. I know.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
I just want 2024.
2024 is going to be one of the most interesting years in the history of this country. I mean, it is going to be wild.
And every election year, we say the same thing. This is the most important, but this really is.
This really is. And obviously, what we need and what we are hoping to happen is the Democrats win presidency, House, Senate, and then they really have to take care of business if that
Yeah.
happens. And I'm not talking about they have to do sweeping changes,
Period. Court.
Yeah. To where things like this never happen
Voting
again.
rights.
Yes, correct.
Protected. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, all right. So we're getting close to the end of the show, and we're still going to talk on the political side of this, but it's also in the entertainment world. Did you happen to catch Eminem and his video talking about Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was going around. I found it pretty interesting. I find it interesting, first of all, that you have a guy that is probably one of the greatest of all time putting together words, has a hard time putting together words, like all of us, when it comes to talking about Donald Trump.
And his followers, like, why?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. But I do have this clip. Do you want to watch it, Lana? I'm going to give you do you want to watch it? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Talking about Trump, I get too flustered in my head. So sometimes I start talking and I'm not able to convey the message the right way because I just get flustered and frustrated. Watching him play to his base that thinks that he cares about them.
I didn't know this part was
actually
part of the video.
The people that he cares about the least. There's part of me that understands, like, all right, he's somehow still got them because he's brainwashing them into thinking that something great is gonna happen. Nothing's happening. I don't know, man. I get really flustered.
I didn't watch this video ahead of time. Looks like we got trolled.
Yeah, look at that.
You see who that is? That is a MAGA hero right there. The cat driving. Do you know who that is?
No, I just did the Trump shit.
That is a MAGA hero, and he goes by the name of Cat Turd. And Cat Turd is not only a hero in MAGA land, but he is often retweeted by the gentleman playing the bass, or what not a violin, what is that? Cello. Donald Trump. He retweets Cat Turd all the time. Like Cat Turd's this amazing, brilliant mind.
What is it with MAGAs and shit?
I don't know. I don't know.
They are deplorable. Like,
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah. I mean, Cat Turd. You know what? I am going to play the end of this. It's only a few more seconds left.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that we got.
That's hilarious.
Actually, I'm not blaming Lana. Lana had nothing to do with this.
That's hilarious.
When I talk about it.
Okay, so that's the end of it. But
he made them mad, though. He made them really mad when
he did, and well, that's part of it too. Is that a lot of you would think that he was talking to the base and not really putting them down, but he was basically trying to tell them,
yes,
this is not the way to go. And I there's a part of me that this is part of me. I'm hoping why he does this, because I told you one of my favorite things to watch on YouTube. I love watching young people react to music, that I grew up with. But I see a lot of those same reactors are now reacting to like far right wing sort of things and getting in their head. And it's almost like, and I know, so I'm hoping maybe because Eminem's a person that they react to a lot, and I'm hoping maybe that's part of it. That's at least my hope, and they see that because it does frustrate me when I see younger people listen to these far right wing things and think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right, and I don't understand how any of it makes sense because what? it just doesn't make sense. Biden crime family. I'm just what? And someone made a good point the other day. I know we have to go, but they were saying, you notice how they never say, you know, Biden's name. They will say Biden crime family. They say Hunter Biden, but they never can say Joe Biden is a criminal or just like alone. They can't do that. They
Yeah.
have to carry Hunter with it.
Because there's a part of them, I really think they don't even believe it. They're, because first of all, you can't be that incredibly stupid. I mean, when you are being told something over and over again that we got him, this time we got him, this time we got him. Now, people would say that about us because we've been saying that about Trump for years, but this is the culmination of everything that we've been talking about.
Right.
It's just here now. It wasn't there at the time we thought.
Investigations take years.
Yes.
I do civil law.
Yeah.
We have cases that are 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah.
That's civil.
Yeah.
This is criminal. Of
Yeah.
course, 2 years is fast in some cases. You know what I mean? Depending on what kind of case it is, but.
And you're not talking just about a regular client here or a regular defendant.
Or a regular crime. It's not like someone got shot and you just taken to jail, and we can have this fast and speedy. You're talking about one with documents classified, then another with so many people and emails and oh my goodness, Twitter data.
Only a few people could get prosecuted for taking. Well, again, I don't even want to say stealing classified documents because he had the opportunity to give them back for over a year and decided that he wasn't going to do that. That's again, when we talk about equating, we talk about, I literally still hear people, whether it be on Fox News or anywhere else, where they're equating what Joe Biden and Mike Pence did to Donald Trump. And they're saying they all did the same thing. They're saying, no, you didn't read the indictment.
What did he do? Because he said they were planted at first. Did they all forget that is what he said out of his mouth initially? And everyone was going, yeah, it's planted. Then he's like, they're mine. They're like, no, they're his. Like, what's wrong with you?
And then he's president. He could say, that they're declassified. So they just went along with every little thing. And it's just so dumb. But so I'm going to leave us with this. And I'm going to ask people to subscribe and like the show, please, because this next clip involves Eminem, but it is so cringy that it is going to be I don't even know if Lana is going to be able to stick through it, but it's so bad and so cringy. Presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy fancies himself as I don't know, maybe a guru of hip hop. And he wanted to prove it to the 20 people that went to his rally or that showed up for him in Iowa. Keep in mind, this is in Iowa, and this is presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy. Oh, God. I don't know if I can do it.
I hate that guy.
Give me a second. All right. The cringe factor is through the roof. Here we go. All right.
Okay. Ready.
Loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's joking how everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, plow, snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity.
Look at the crowd.
He's so mad, but he won't give up that easy. Oh, he won't laugh, but he knows it don't matter. It don't matter. He's stoked. He don't matter.
Is this enough torture?
Okay. Why is he doing that?
Again, first of all, I think it's
why is he doing that?
He's one of these younger guys who thinks that he's going to click with the younger generation. If I saw the crowd there correctly, I'm not sure if I saw anybody in that crowd that would necessarily.
What is this? They're like, where's Aldine?
Right. Yeah, they're like, I don't like this at all. You had one person maybe film it, and luckily or unluckily they did and put it out there for the world to see. And
was that before or after Eminem sitting down on this video?
I think it was after. Yeah. So
what is that? Oh my Help me.
I don't know. I think that's somebody that thinks just a little bit, too much of themselves. Listen, part of me is kind of like,
Wow.
every once in a while, sometimes you think of something in your head, you think it's, that's going to be funny or it's going to be cool or it's going to be, and then you go back and go, yeah, that didn't land as much as I thought it
I
would.
mean,
And
can we just go back to Bill Clinton playing the saxophone?
that was cool.
Right? Can we just go back there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was legit cool. And my sense is that Bill Clinton has probably a better sense of what is cool than Vivek Ramaswamy.
Apparently.
Now he does like a cool song. I'll give him that. He got the words right. I'll give him that. But man, oh man, in Iowa of all places, I'm not really sure that's where you're going to make your mark.
Right. But it's just hypocritical because Vivek's talking about I forgot what he said. He said, I don't know, somebody help the slaves. I can't remember. He made some comment about slavery. I'm like,
Yeah, he's in that camp. Yeah.
right. And here you are. Yeah, Eminem's white, but this is hip hop.
Yeah.
This is hip hop. What are you doing?
Yep. And I don't know. You see that a lot. It reminds me of the movie Do the Right Thing. Like Lee movie where, basically the guy, all his favorite people are black, but he uses the N-word constantly. He's like, I don't get it. What's your deal? Explain this to me. And there's no explanation. I talked about this before. I don't have that mechanism in my brain that I don't know. I don't. Lana, what do you think? I don't know.
I don't know what's happening.
So we're going to end the show with neither one of us knowing shit.
To make me see that.
Yeah. So, well, maybe by next Tuesday we'll figure it out. It's going to be an interesting week next week because we have 19 different people who are going to have to turn them into the Fulton County Jail. We have a Republican debate that is either going to be boring or it's going to be one of the greatest shit shows in the history of debates. Do
you know how they're going to do it? Is it going to be a debate or is it going to be like a town hall and people ask?
No, it's a debate. It's where they're all lined up on stage and they each get questions asked and they're all going to be in line based on, I think it's where they stand in the poll or where they stand in the polls or whatever. Obviously Donald Trump would be in the middle and to the right and left of him would be DeSantis. And I think in Iowa, if I'm not mistaken, Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't know if that helped his case in Iowa, but I think he was in the third, or he might even went past DeSantis too at some point.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Could
that
you
guy.
imagine? I mean, we talked about this earlier, and again, I don't mind wrapping up the show before and talking about it still. This guy went into this thing thinking,
yeah,
I can beat Donald Trump. I'm the smarter Donald Trump. And you know why I think that? Because I've been told that. I've been told I'm the smart Donald Trump. And he's got so much problems. And make no mistake about it, and you brought up the point earlier, everybody on that stage wants Donald Trump to go to jail and not be able to get out. They want him out of this race because then they think they have a shot. And that's where it opens up a lane for Ron DeSantis. To answer your question earlier, I'm not really worried about Ron DeSantis as a presidential candidate because I think it's pretty clear. What's going to happen is there's going to be such a stink on him anyway. It's going to be like, dude, you were just always the second choice anyway. You're gonna have Trump voters are gonna be, fuck that guy. I'm not voting for him.
Exactly. Even if Trump tells them to, they're gonna not vote because they're gonna be so pissed off. They're not gonna bother to, kind of like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
He waited, and Trump will wait till the last minute. If ever he tells them to go and vote for Ron DeSantis, if he ever says it.
Right. That's exactly right.
And my friend DA, we were talking, he's like, well, he'll get a promised pardon. Sorry. A promised pardon.
Again, you and I, whatever we want on this show. Nobody's stopping us.
Yeah, even with a promised pardon, Trump's people, I don't think, will vote for DeSantis. He's not likable. He can't hide what he's done. Abortion, Black history. Like, he can't hide any parlaying slavery skills. Like, he can't get away from this stuff.
You know, I saw a funny tweet, and I'm still calling it tweet. Fuck that. I'm
Me
not calling
too.
it X's.
Me too.
But I saw a funny tweet where somebody said, man, if Ron DeSantis was just a slave, he would have been able to parlay his skills into being a better candidate,
He's
which
awful.
is pretty damn funny. But he, the other place where he's about to get smacked, he's a terrible debater. I mean, he was on the stage against, who was he running against here? Oh, it's slipping my mind. God.
That guy with the white hair.
Yeah, he was the Democratic.
Chris.
Yeah, Charlie Chris. So he was debating against him and got his. I mean, he looked lost, and he is going to look lost against Chris Christie. He's going to look lost. I don't know the rest of them. I don't know if they'll attack Ron DeSantis as much. Chris Christie will, but if Donald Trump is on that stage, he might as well wrap it up. He'll be Little Marco. He'll be Jeb Bush.
Yeah, he's gonna find a name. He's gonna call him Meatball or something crazy. So
Tiny D, I think, is another one that.
Oh my God.
There's all kinds of things that he will attack him with, and Ron DeSantis doesn't have it in him. He's a big tough guy when he's yelling at female reporters or he's yelling at kids at a high school with masks on. That's when he's a tough guy, and that's what I think most MAGA guys, when they're tough, is when they think they can be tough against people that, you know, won't fight back as much. But he's going to be exposed at the debate next week. And if he does somehow become the candidate, the American electorate, the American people overall, are going to see what everybody else has seen. He's unlikable.
AP, Black history, changing Parks books.
6 weeks for abortion bans.
Don't say gay.
Yeah.
Like, he attacked Disney. Like, what is he gonna do as a president? Like, what? He's petty as fuck.
Yeah. And by the way, quite frankly, you know, we think we talked about this before. This idea, it really pissed me off when I saw, I can't remember if it was New York Times or if it's the Atlantic. I think it might have been the Atlantic that wrote the article, how Ron DeSantis won COVID. And I'm like, well, that's first of all, it's a shitty headline. Nobody won COVID. And if you look back, Florida did not do a great job. I mean, economically, they did not go in the tank, but a lot of people died in Florida. And for some reason, we look over that.
Right? And because he hid, didn't he arrest some woman who whistleblower?
This Rebecca Jones that he harassed her. Well, I don't know if you can't say he did directly, but I mean, you know, we can kind of put 2 and 2 together, but I don't recall seeing any specific proof that he did, but there is a strong case that he hid, you know, numbers here on COVID. And he is absolutely the guy who, all the stuff you just named, it is not beneath him, or it is not, sounds like something he would do.
Right. Of course he would. And I remember that. And I remember when the vaccines hit, Ron DeSantis was having a whole party with his friends, a vaccine party, and people needed vaccines, and he was giving them to his rich friends and himself.
Yes. Yeah, that's true too. Yep. Yeah. So I don't, again, like I said, going back to your question, I'm not afraid of Ron DeSantis. I'm not really afraid because most of these candidates are on the same page when it comes to abortion.
Right.
There are these, you know, that's why so many of them won't even go after Donald Trump, because they don't want to lose that MAGA vote. So what's the point of even running, other than you think that Donald Trump may be going to jail?
Right.
So
and people are just, I know we gotta go, but
no, we can stay as long as you
people
want.
are just like so stupid. It's like, why would you vote for someone who doesn't eat? Well, one, they don't care about anyone, but even in their faking like they care about Americans, only cares about one electorate.
Yeah.
like, why would you vote for any Trump? Trump only cares. Well, he doesn't care, but he acts like he cares, but only for MAGA. That's it. He does blue states. I think we talked about this. Like, let a hurricane happen in a blue state, and Trump is president. You may not even get FEMA there. He's going to redo everything anyway. He is going to fire and DeSantis. If you're not a Republican, you're not going to be able to work for the government.
Yeah.
If they can fire you, they will fire you.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And, it's fun. Actually, I did look up, because we did talk about that last week. Jared Kushner did, there was some meddling, or there was some talk about not giving blue states certain funding and stuff like that for COVID. Surely that was on the directive of Donald Trump, or, he just assumed that that's what Donald would want. But yeah, it's this is by far the craziest time. I mean, we've had some crazy shit that's happened while we've been alive, but
no, this is Donald Trump is really a cancer. Like,
he is, and that's why I think that's part of. We get rid of this, the country could maybe somewhat repair itself. I don't know if it will get to the point, but it gets to a point, we talked about earlier, so many other things happen. We went an hour and 20 minutes, didn't talk about Maui one time.
Oh, and that's a shame.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's a shame. And it's because my brother and I were having this conversation the other day. Even CNN and them, they know they have to cover it, but they're kind of like, all right, let's put it on for a few minutes and let's get back to Donald Trump. It's because, and it's not because they don't think it's important. It's because that's what people want to hear. That's what people want to, that's what they'll tune into. At least they might not want to hear it, but they'll tune into it.
Right. Yeah. And what they earlier in the day, probably not so much at night, but during the day, they talk about it a little more, and they were talking about what's going on now is what goes on is the real estate developers now are trying to get these people while they're just down and out and desperate, trying to get them to sell their plots of land. And I'm like, wow, that's just.
Yeah. And it is, it's money first. And, one more thing, we keep talking about wrapping. Again, I could go on forever. I don't know how much of how much tolerance the audience has, but we break up the show in clips anyway.
Yeah,
so,
you do. You do a great job with the clips.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just love like clips are fun. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. We got some clips. Yeah, I send them to Lana, and she tweets them out to her 150 billion followers. But no, what I was going to say is about Maui. Damn it! I was going to say something. I can't remember what it was.
Talking about the real estate people coming in.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I know what I was going to say. So we talk about people not understanding what's happening with the economy. I am seeing Republicans left and right, talking about Joe Biden has ignored Hawaii, hasn't said anything about it, hasn't. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I mean,
because it's not on all of the channels, right? Like, that's something, again, before someone says that, you should Google it, because it's only going to be a soundbite. Like, if he talked about it, it's just going to be a soundbite. He's not going to do a whole press conference about. He's just not going to do it. Should he do it? I don't know. I don't know if they normally do that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Well, he did. He did talk about, but you are right. You just said it. It's like, and we just already talked about it, is the media wants to move on from that story quickly. You're right. If there's a story of Joe Biden talking about Hawaii, you better not go to the bathroom, because they'll talk about it. You come back, it's over. We're back to Trump. So to say that, because you're almost making it sound like he doesn't care about Hawaii. That's so stupid.
And that's dumb, because all he does is care.
Yes,
and we talked about this too. Like, you can call him all of the things you want. You can't say that the man doesn't have empathy, just by way of who he is and where he's come from. And he took the goddamn train. He's never flown around in his private jet with gold toilets. He's taking an Amtrak.
Yeah. Yeah,
home
it's
on the
you're right.
weekend.
There's nothing. You could say whatever you want about Joe Biden, that he's slow, that he mumbles up some words every once in a while. He might every once in a while, like kind of look like let's get the hell out of here. But the alternative is a guy not only doesn't really know what he's saying, he's extremely dangerous. So I will take the guy that looks lost every once in a while, or maybe stumbles over a word or two because he said Afghanistan, or he said
Right.
Libya instead of Afghanistan, or whatever.
And
To
that's
me,
a lot. Like, I can't even imagine, honestly, being my age and remembering
yeah,
all of these prime ministers and the presidents and what's the state, country, city, district, like, what are we, that is a lot of information. So the nerve of any of us who are not the president to get upset because he called Afghanistan Libya,
yeah,
and he's fucking dealing with these people all the time, like on the phone with the prime minister of this person here, Japan, North Korea, South Korea. I would have them all confused. That is crazy. And he's going to Hawaii with Jill.
correct. And I got news for you. As soon as this podcast ends, I'm gonna look down my notes and go, God, I can't believe I forgot to say that. I am on a small YouTube. I'm not even close to the same level of the importance of a job as Joe Biden is, and I am gonna forget some of the shit I wanted to say.
Right. Like that. That is the most frustrating thing ever. And Trump can go around spilling water, wedding like
Yeah.
he's on drugs, and they just kind of overlook it.
I mean, it's
like it's not happening.
I don't want. We probably shouldn't start this because this could last another 3 hours. But we could sit here and list every stupid thing that Donald Trump says, and I mean, this guy is calling out federal judges in the case that is trying his case. What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
But
amazing.
Anyway, well, listen. Lana will be live tomorrow night on YouTube again. I know she's putting in.
I have not decided. I'm sorry.
All right, we'll go
I'm
to
supposed
YouTube
to
at
be
8
live
o'clock tomorrow.
tomorrow.
She's there. You can watch her, and if not, then we'll catch her. We'll catch her again next time. You're going to be live next week during the Republican debates.
Oh yeah, Thursday. Oh
Yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah. So
Maybe we can do something together during.
Yeah.
Can we try to stream? Can we stream watch and do a show while?
yeah.
How does
Well,
that
I'll
work?
figure that out. Yep.
Yeah, let me know. Maybe
I'll figure that out. We'll watch it
combine
together
the
and we'll make
shows.
fun of every one of them morons because it's entertaining, for me, and especially if Donald Trump's on it. I've said before, I kind of don't even want to watch it with Donald Trump on it, but how do you not? You know? How do you
Maybe we
not?
could do what are those things called? A reaction video.
That will be we'll do our own. Instead of doing songs, we're going to do presidential debate.
That's how nerdy we are.
Yeah, but our show comes out once every 4 years.
Right.
You don't get one 3 times a day. So,
oh my God. Okay.
Lana might be on tomorrow night.
Yeah,
if not, we will be back on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And then it looks like we have put together an impromptu reaction show of the debates next week. So we will do that. And Lana, do you have anything you would like to conclude with?
No, just watch Trump's press conference because he's going to vindicate and get himself out of these indictments on Monday. He's got evidence.
That's the thing that's going to ruin this show and pretty much everybody that is talking about Donald Trump. I just talked about things I forgot about. That's one of the things I want to talk about now, or that I want to talk about that I forgot to talk about. But apparently he's got something on Monday. You know what? We'll save that for Tuesday.
Yes, save it for Tuesday.
He's got something that is going to blow the doors off.
It's going to blow the doors off. Yeah.
And it's from another idiot. I can't remember her name, but we'll get into it more on Tuesday. But this is just somebody else that writes something that he goes, yeah, that sounds great. We're going to go
exactly.
with that.
Oh, unbelievable. And give me money. Okay.
Yeah, give me money. Lana, you're the best. Good seeing you. And we will see everybody again on Tuesday.
Have a good weekend.
Good night.